It's Wednesday, 6 in the morning, 6:20. I ran into a medical issue that makes it very obvious that I have a neurological disorder, something wrong with my nervous system in my legs, arms, and sides. And it's been going on for 25 years, and it's obvious to everybody around me. My teachers at that time, my teachers growing up, my teachers in Texas, people around me that actually were just observing my body for the last 30 days, and then in 30 days more, they see a difference. So, on top of that, what's new? What happened this morning? Well, the same thing that happened last winter for a long period of time, and that became a problem, where I got stuck in the bathroom at work for 3 hours. So, last night it was cold. I was running a window fan. We have no heat on. It is the middle of summer. It was 92 degrees yesterday. So I ran the fan because my roommate was hot. Now we woke up this morning. I woke up this morning at 4 a.m. After I got out of the covers and went to the bathroom at about 5:30 a.m. First of all, my legs were stiff and I was shaking horribly, and it was very painful. Why? Why am I shaking horribly? Because it's 50 degrees in my house and I have nothing but a bathrobe on and sweatpants. I got sweatpants and bathrobe and socks. That's it. Well, it's the middle of July. I shouldn't be falling to the ground in the middle of July because it's cold in my house. But yet it is. It's only 50 degrees because it's the middle of July and I got a window open. Well, what scares me here is what happens when October comes and I am thrown out of my house and I have a blockage. What happens when I haven't taken a poop for 5 days? It's blockage. I can no longer use another enema. I've taken this every day to help with this. Every single day. Marilax. I've even doubled the dose of Marilax. And it still is a problem with cold. As long as I'm in a normal temperature and they let me go to the bathroom in a normal temperature, I am able to go. But if the bathroom and the toilet's going to be freezing cold and the bathroom itself is going to be cold and I'm going to be walking around in the cold, nothing will pass through me and my legs won't work proper. I'll be shaking, I'll be seizing, and there's no possible way for me to use the bathroom. And if I have no apartment, they'll keep me on the loop. And it's not like I did this to myself or anything. I have a job. I have an apartment. I have a mailing address. I'm eligible for benefits. And I'm supposed to be on Social Security, so there's more money I'm eligible for. And I didn't make myself disabled at age 7 either. It's not like I got into the medicine cabinet at age 7 and then they found me passed out with my head in the medicine cabinet at age 7 years old, and then all of a sudden I was brought to the emergency room. The doctors did everything they could and tried to fix me up, but they couldn't. That's not the case. What happened to me is my mother slipped me some pills. I experienced an overdose, and then my mother refused to bring me to the emergency room, then continued to slip me pills. And then when the doctors and teachers started realizing this, my mother took evasive action, manipulated the doctors, continued slipping me pills to make it harder for the doctors to figure out what's going on. And as the teachers try to get me physical therapy and speech therapy, my mother's trying to put me into ballet, something this little 7-year-old boy doesn't need. It's going to get the other classmates to make fun of him. And the kid worries about this and tells the mother. But of course, the mother is not putting him in ballet for any good reason other than a distraction. So if people start making fun of her son for being in ballet. That just serves her purposes better. So she puts him in the ballet, and then as people suggest more and more, they suggest that my mother gets more information about this overdose and my neurological problems like coordination issues. But she decides that she wants a change of scenery in Texas. So there's stuff like that going on. Now I'm 31. You could say that I'm age 29 or 30 or whatever. Every year for the last 25 years, there's been a seizure. Well, actually, for the first 10 years, every 4 years or so, I got a seizure. Then it became every 2 years or so, and then it became every year, and now it's like every 6 months or a year I have a full-blown seizure. Now the Trileptal is supposed to stop that, but that's if I'm doing the right thing. That means I have to stay out of cold. Now my house is cold, so I'm fixing that. But what happens when I lose my home? If they have me on the endless treadmill. Now, if you want to know what the endless treadmill is, that's the homeless. Once when you're homeless, if you cannot use a shelter like me, where they throw you out of the shelter just for being disabled, where they're not supposed to be allowed to do, but here's the thing. My mother and father made it so everybody is allowed to discriminate against me. The only way a shelter is not allowed to throw me out for being disabled is if my disabilities are established. My mother and father made sure to cover up my disabilities, and my father did it in La La Land, as my mother knew exactly what she was doing. My mother knew that she was exactly covering up something that she caused. She knew it because I was there with her when it happened, and she made a choice not to bring me to the emergency room. She made choices that she knew were wrong. And the only way you can make a wrong choice on purpose is if you know what the right choice is and that you're going to get into trouble. If you give your kid an overdose, and then you're on the phone and they tell you to bring your kid to the emergency room, and then you refuse to do so, and then the week following the teacher says there's something wrong with your kid's body, you're going to remember the overdose. And then if 4 weeks go by and the kid mentions this horrible overdose at the doctor's office, the mother's going to remember that she's responsible for the overdose. My mother knew what she did was wrong. She knew that she was covering up a mistake. I did not know it because I was a 7-year-old. My father was also being lied to, but if he wanted to know it, all he had to do was open up his eyes. There was plenty of very clear red flags going on, like teachers calling home, doctors speaking and asking questions, and the kid mentioning it right at the doctor's office. So anyways, yep, that's the problem here. What is the problem? Why am I going to lose my home? Why am I having so much difficulty? Why might I die on the side of the road? Why might I get run over? Why do I have so many injuries? And why will I end up with more injuries? And why am I in pain for the rest of my life? And why is that pain going to get worse? Why is it not getting better, even though there's simple treatments out there like just taking epileptic medication? There's so much that can be done out there, like Social Security, from different types of medical equipment to, just all different types of things. But why is none of that getting done? What's the problem here? The problem is, once again, my mother and father have lied to doctors for my entire life, making it impossible for the doctors to make heads or tails of my medical records. What I tell the doctors verbally makes perfect sense, and they're able to diagnose and treat me based upon that, and they've given me epileptic medication that they've given me before for alcoholism. So if I was on a medication already before, they're willing to give it to me now while we run more testing like we've done for the last 4 years or so. But as long as my medical records are all fucked up and they can't make heads or tails of it, we can't do the actual necessary stuff like get a diagnosis or get paperwork so that I can move on with Social Security or with going to work or going to a shelter. That cannot be done until we have my medical record straight. We also can't go on to any new epileptic medications until we get my medical records straight. And the last time we tried to straighten out my medical records, my doctors and my workers called my father. And my father says, it's all made up, it's all a fantasy, don't help him. And then my insurance company decided to no longer cover any of these treatments. And then my doctors decided, well, we don't make heads or tails of this, so we have no clue what to do. And then my worker decided to take my father's side in this and just dropped everything. He said, the state's not going to pay for this shit. And then she just stopped answering calls, turned off all help, stopped helping me file paperwork. You literally just dropped the case completely. So, with all that going on, yeah, I'm screwed. And so I'm probably going to be out on the street at the end of the month. And because I have so much problems with the cold, I'm probably going to get something like a blockage, and they'll have to cut me open, and or I'll probably be screaming in pain in the hospital. They'll give me an enema, it won't work. They'll say, push it out, or we'll have to cut you open. Push it out, or we're going to have to cut you open. Push it out if we were going to have to cut you open. And because of the outside stimulus, because I'm not on epileptic medication, because I have not got treatment with my nervous system, I won't be able to push it out, and they'll cut me open and I'll have a colostomy bag for the rest of my life. Only because my father doesn't want to inform the doctors now. See, if my father tells the doctors what's wrong, if he got me an apartment indoors, and then fixed his mistake, then I could go to work, then I could collect my Social Security, and then I could do those things. But see, he doesn't care about that. I've done those things for myself. I have an apartment I pay for. I've actually gone to work against doctor's orders. I've gone to every doctor I can. I've spent every free day I've ever had in the last 7 years with doctors. For the 3 years prior to that, I was even spending shitloads of time with doctors. I have a neurologist, a GI specialist, a urologist. I had a cardiologist, but I couldn't, no more time left. I'm doing everything. I'm literally exhausted from all the work I've put in to cleaning up my mother's and father's mess. I did not ask my mother and father to lie to doctors. I did not ask my father to lie to Social Security. I did not ask my mother to make up illnesses and then use those for Social Security. I did not ask my mother to lie to my father. I did not ask my father to look blind purposely and go into denial. I did not ask my father to stand there quietly as my mother tells the family that it's okay to poison me. What my father was right next to her as she told, and we all were gasping. My father says, oh, what happened? What did I miss? Like he was in La La Land. I didn't ask him to do that. He did that because he wanted to protect his wife and had no care for the little orphan kid. Anytime these situations arose, my father decided that it was more important to cover up his wife's mistakes and go along with her and totally support his wife than support both his wife and his son. I didn't ask him to do that. When my mother was popping my Vicodin and that my father needed to step in and say something, and I spoke to him downstairs and asked him to say something to my mother, I did not ask him then to turn around and punish me and go along with her excuses. And then she goes and continues taking those Vicodins. See, if my father did something about that at that time, my mother wouldn't have continued taking the Vicodin. But seeing as my father took the excuse, well, it's only one time, then she went right back to taking them a week, 10 days later, something about that time. She was taking my Vicodin. I could see the bottle going down. So then I sat and watched TV near the bottle. I caught my mother stealing the pills, red-handed, hand in the cookie jar. And then she said she'll do whatever she wants, and she'll do whatever the hell she wants. I told my father that my mother's stealing my Vicodin. She said it's only one time. To my father says, see, it's only one time. It's your fault. You're the one in trouble for seeing her do it. Yeah, she says this is all your fault. So it's all your fault, Zach, because my wife says it's all your fault. He bought that it's all my fault. It's all the 16-year-old son's fault because your wife is stealing medication from him. And he oversaw it while watching TV. Your 16-year-old son was watching TV, oversaw his mother stealing meds, told you about it, and now you are saying that it's Zach's fault that your wife is stealing meds. That is a very clear red flag. Now, if you wanted more information, if you wanted to talk to your honest son, who's willing to have honest conversations about stuff with you, he was there for you. Your son has always been there for you. If you wanted to know something about your wife, your son would be honest with you. If you wanted to know if something was missing, your son was always honest with you. The problem is you didn't want to take that honesty. If I told you Patricia stole something, and then Patricia said I was a liar, what would happen then? If my mother stole alcohol or stole my meds, and my mother called me a liar, like she did on so many occasions, like she did with the swimming medals and so much more, my father would have then punished me for trying to help my mother and father. That's it. So I have to sit there as this happens. My mother does crazy ass shit, hurts other people, hurts me, poisons me, lies to doctors about me. I had no clue why she was doing all this stuff during childhood. But now as an adult, I realize why she was doing it was to cover up what she did, make sure I couldn't get help, make sure they get Social Security, make sure they can drop me off at 18, get attention, and they always get that, oh, look how good we are getting our son all this psychiatric medication, yes. So, there's many reasons why my mother decided to do these awful things on repeat over and over and over in front of witnesses, in front of teachers, in front of family members, and say these awful things. Like when my mother said that she thinks it's perfectly okay to give extra medication that a child is not prescribed to a child. If my mother thinks it's okay to take a 7-year-old orphan and start sneaking this 7-year-old orphan things like opiates to make him fall asleep so you can change the channel. And if there's a 7-year-old orphan, has an adoption thing coming up and he's going to be talking too much about an overdose, then it's okay to slip this kid pills during an adoption so he's passed out and can't even make sentences. And this was a very common occurrence, where my mother would pick a certain day out and drug the shit out of me so I couldn't even walk, form sentences. I would just be passed out on a bench, and everybody would ask me, why am I so tired? Why do I look depressed? Why do I look so tired? Why do I look depressed? Maybe because I'm on a cocktail of drugs. So now I gotta face all my mother's and father's, the full brunt force, the full weight of my mother's and father's decisions while on medical leave. I'm thinking about going back to work early without medical orders, but then if I get hurt again, I'm screwed. Because if I get the medical orders properly, then I can go back to work the right way. But I keep on going back to work the wrong way, and then I can't even do anything if I'm injured. If I have a seizure, they just like, oh, you're in the hospital from that seizure and you bled all over the floor at work. Well, that's okay. Come back in tomorrow. I can't even get one day off, even if I bled and I went unconscious on the floor and a customer had to call an ambulance because I didn't do it in the proper way. If I wait and I get doctors to sign off on me going back to work, then if I have a seizure, the doctors write documentation and I stay out for a week and then I go back or whatever. But see, the problem is that getting documentation for a disability like this after your mother spent 15 years trying to hide it and misinform doctors is impossible. So most likely I'm going to lose my apartment. I'm going to be out in the woods. I'm probably not even going to get the poop, and I'm going to be on a never-ending treadmill, all because of my father's choices. And this isn't the first time I've lost because of my father. I've lost everything I've owned like 5 times over, all because of my father's choices. My father was throwing away my girlfriend's clatter rings that they gave me when I was like 14 years old, 15 years old. My father trashed out baseball cards that literally I got from the orphanage. But that's because I took his new wife's illegal drugs that she brought in the house. That's why this is okay to do to me. Well, how about my swimming medal? Did my father ever steal anything from me before? Oh, yes, at the age of 7, my mother and father decided that stealing my swimming medal from the orphanage would be a great kick in the pants. So, yeah, we've had problems before with my father stealing from me, and then I get blamed for stealing I didn't steal. And then this goes on. Yes, my mother steals my swimming medal and then calls me a thief. Stuff like that goes on year after year after year. Like in Texas, I got blamed from stealing a toy gun when my neighbor traded me the toy gun for a recorder. Now, I told my parents this, I told the neighbor this, I told everybody this, that this toy gun was traded. Now, anybody could just ask the neighbor kid, did Zach trade? And the neighbor kid would say, yes, no problem. But instead, my mother wants to make up a fantasy. Oh, Zach's going around cutting off cords at Walmart. No, they would catch me. This cord is an inch thick. No, it goes to the duck game at home. Do you know the home duck hunt? You ever heard of home duck hunt? You know the gun that goes with the home duck hunt? Well, guess what? My neighbor had home duck hunt, but the game broke. So he cut off the cord and was playing with it. I like playing with guns, so he traded me a broken video game gun for a broken recorder. The recorder was broken, the gun was broken, we traded broken toys. But my mother had some fantasy that I'm running around at Walmart or something, or some store that I can't even get to, cutting off giant cords to get to this. You know how many alarms will go off at Walmart if you try, and where's this knife? Where's the knife I'm bringing to Walmart? Where's this knife I'm bringing to Walmart at the age of 8 years old? So this is ridiculous shit. So I'm getting blamed for stealing shit I'm not even stealing. My own swimming medals I'm getting punished and blamed for. I'm getting my items, the things that I worked for, like my trophies and my medals, stolen from me. And then they keep on continuing making up stories about me being a thief year after year after year after year. Meanwhile, my mother makes up illnesses to doctors year after year. Meanwhile, my mother drugs the shit out of me, and I can't even form sentences. The more drugs that my mother gives me, the harder it is for me to talk. And I have no idea why it is that it's hard for me to form certain sentences. I can talk about nothing off the cuff. Like that shirt is blue and that book is red. And why is this? Why is this? Why is that blue? Why is that red? I can do that all day long. But explaining how my insides feel at the age of 8, explaining what a neurological disorder is, or explaining stuff like why a trade is going on, all I can tell my mother is, no, I did not steal that. I traded the neighbor for that. But that's never enough for my mother and father. They always say, no, we have a fantasy right here. No, you stole the swimming medal from an African American kid. Then you stole a Sharpie from the teacher, maybe, who knows. Then you wrote on the back of this medal to get back at your mother. Then you showed this to your mother to punish your mother and to hurt your mother. And that means you have attachment disorder. Then on top of this, when we asked you about the medal, you said you won it in the orphanage. We never saw you win any medal in the orphanage, so we think that you're just lying about that, so you're also a fantasy spinner. And that's the truth, Zach. Meanwhile, what is the real truth? A 7-year-old orphan was brought to the YMCA, treaded water longer than the other kids. The staff member wrote ZG, handed it to the kid, told the kid not to let any other kid steal it, so he put it in a Lego box. Then he went into foster care and brought this Lego box to foster mother, here, there. Then he got adopted by this other mother, and he was playing Legos one day, took the swimming medal out of the Lego box, said, oh, I remember this. This was a good day. This was a great accomplishment. Wait a minute. This is my first medal. I should show this to my mother. So then I walk over to my mom. Look at the medal I won. That's the truth right there. That's the truth. And that's from the person who was there. That's right from the horse's mouth. That's right from the person who was there to know what happened. This isn't second-hand information. This isn't third-hand information. No, this is first-hand information. I was there for the winning of this medal. Something my father and mother continue to not understand. First-hand information is always more reliable than second-hand information. I know way more about what the teachers are doing in a school than what my mother and father know. Why? Because my mother and father don't go to the school. They try to call and get information. Well, that's secondhand. You're talking to a secretary at a desk. You're talking about a teacher or something like that. If you want to know anything that happened during the day where a teacher was not present, you got to get first-hand information. The same thing goes for your child today. If your child comes home from school, the teacher has a complaint, and your child's crying that it's not true, it's not true, it's not true, day after day after day, and you say, well, the teacher says it's true. There might be a detail that isn't true. There might be a misunderstanding. Let's say that Bobby and Joey got into a fight. The teacher says Bobby hit Joey. But the truth is, Bobby was on the ground getting a beating. Why would the teacher think that Joey fought? Maybe the other kid said Joey and Bobby had a fight, and Bobby says that he was hit first, or blah, 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 and all this information. And the teacher wasn't there to see the fight, so she's just going by what she heard. That might be how you get a complaint going home that your son got into a fight and he punched Joey. But then when you ask your son, he goes, I didn't punch nobody. They hit me, and they end up pushing me to the ground and hitting me. Well, now you have first account information. Now that could be a lie. But the best thing to do is wait, give it time, and keep on asking. You need understanding. You need information. Now you have the information, but you can't go to a second-hand source. You got to go to the people that were there when you have a misunderstanding. If one person says, I did not hit Joey, and the teacher says he did hit Joey, but the teacher says that's just what the reports say, but Joey says he was there to see it himself, then Joey has proof in his mind. Now that proof is only good for Joey. Joey's proof is only good for Joey because it's only proof to him. Joey's proof is only proof to him. He witnessed this happen to him. So he knows what's true and what's not. But that's only proven to him. Nobody else. Nobody else has proof. Just Joey has proof of what happened to Joey. So, the only way you get to the bottom of this is by talking to the kids that were there for the fight. Because they are the first-hand information. If 3 kids say that Joey did not get hit, and just the kid who made the fight says he got hit, then Joey's probably telling the truth. But the teacher isn't going to know that. The teacher's just going to have a bunch of reports, write it up, and then it's done with. And this is something that parents need to realize. You should not jump to conclusions, especially with dangerous pharmaceuticals, or with whipping your child with a ruler, or trying to poison him, or getting him 8 medications all at once. And that stuff cannot happen. When I was the age of 7 years old, I was taking 4 or more medications. At the time of 14, 15 years old, they had me on 6 or 7. By the time I was about 16, 17, 8 for a short amount of time, and then I dropped down to about 6 medicines by the time I was 18. And none of them were necessary. Only the Ritalin was necessary. They stopped the other necessary medicine, what was Ativan. So now I'm only taking 1 necessary medication for my ADHD. The only reason why I'm taking the rest of these meds is because I'm brainwashed, and my mother has decided to lie to me, and I'm repeating my mother's lies. So I'm telling the doctor I just need help sleeping. And what are they giving me? Thorazine, Seroquel, Trazodone, Lamictal, Risperidone, all together. All for sleep, you think? No. See, that's what I think it's for. I tell the doctor I need help sleeping, and I still can't sleep. And he's adding on more than 5 meds just for sleep. But it's not just for sleep. He's writing in the notes that my mother is calling in saying I'm bipolar, I'm schizophrenic. I need more meds. I need more meds. I have ADHD. I'm out to get her. I'm out to hurt people. I'm making a menace. I'm not doing good. All these things that aren't true. Meanwhile, my mother goes nuts. She's going through liver failure. She's drinking every day. She's messing around with pills. And it's affecting her 16-year-old son. And no wonder why her son is now popping pills. So there's a whole problem there. Now, luckily, the son wants to get better, but the mother does not. The mother has not received 1 day of help with her mental illness. When she sees people in the hallway, they just blame their son. That's it. She doesn't need help with the people she sees in the hallway, because we'll just blame it on Zach has friends over in the middle of the night. What is the most ridiculous thing you ever heard if you knew our household? If you knew our household, you would know there was never anybody visiting me at night. There was never anybody visiting me during the day. There's nobody ever visiting me in the afternoon. I couldn't get any friends to come to my birthday parties. I didn't have any friends for Christmas, birthdays, nothing. So we definitely did not have anybody over there for the son at nighttime. That's very obvious to the whole family. But my mother is going mental. She's seeing things, little shadow people at night. She's watching the mirror all night, trying to catch somebody because she has this mental illness where she has to make a story up. I have to come up with a story. I have to see something. Something has to happen. Things are going too well. I need something to happen. So she stares at that mirror hour after hour. After 3 hours of staring at a mirror tilted just the right way to see a staircase that goes downstairs, she sees a shadow, and then she runs out of her bedroom, goes over to my room, shakes me out of a sound sleep. Hey, I see people, I see people, I see people. When there's nobody there. So now I'm supposed to be going to work at the age of 19, and I'm supposed to be trying to help them with this, but they don't want to listen to me. I've now come home. I've left my apartment. I'm not going to college. I'm not able to go any further. I don't have a car. I've given up my Social Security because my father decided to do some illegal little actions and lie to the program and to the state worker. So with all that stuff going on, obviously I got thrown out of my housing. But before I got thrown out, my father said I could come home to take care of my mother so that nobody would ever find out that I got thrown out because of him. So instead I moved home to take care of my mother. But then again, nobody is listening to me. My mother is hallucinating people in the hallway. I'm trying to get her back to bed. And my father's like, are you sure? No. Let's investigate this hallucination. Like, you would hear people. You know how squeaky those stairs are? You would hear people coming up and down those stairs. Come on, get mom to bed already. Stop humoring her mental illness. But instead, what happens? They blame me for my mother seeing hallucinations. My mother pops Vicodin, it's my fault. My mother day drinks, it's my fault. My mother sees people who aren't there, it's my fault. I win a swimming medal, it's my fault. I make a trade with my neighbor, and it's my fault. There's so many ways that my mother and father can put the blame on me that I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the victim blaming. I'm so sick and tired of being called a shithead just so that they can get away with something. Hey, we don't want to help you, so we're going to call you a shithead and run off. Hey, we don't want to do this, so we're going to call you a shithead and run off. We don't want to do this, so we're going to call you a shithead and we're going to run off. I don't want to handle my wife's Vicodin popping. I don't want to handle my wife's drinking. So we're just going to call you a shithead and run off. Oh, my wife is popping your Vicodin, that's the active prescription that is needed? Well, it's your fault for seeing it. Just call me a shithead and then say it's not important. And then my mother continues taking my Vicodin. I watched the bottle disappear. Then I went to watch a TV. My mother got caught red-handed stealing it. My father then asked her about it. She said it's only one time. Then they just called me a shithead and went off on their way. Then I went back to check my bottle. Again, the count is missing more. Then I went to check my bottle. There's missing more. And then the third time when missing more, I just switched them out for regular Tylenol that look exactly the same. The only 3 times I've ever switched out meds in my life was my own prescription for Vicodin, an expired prescription for Percocet with Tylenol, and I switched those 2 out with Tylenol. And the one I feel horrible bad with, because it's actually an unsafe one. I can't believe I did this, but there was somebody else with me that kind of was a problem. So it wasn't just me alone, but I traded 2 Seroquel for 2 Vicodin. That was a bad one. That one was really bad because that was a good friend of mine, and you can't do that. If you're trading Tylenol for Tylenol, hell, nobody cares. You're actually not doing anything wrong. If the prescription is yours, who cares? It's your prescription, and you're trading it for, let's say, Percocet with Tylenol just for Tylenol or something like that. That's no big deal. It's your own prescription. You're only taking something out. You're not really switching anything. But I should have never. That's wrong. I was only 16 years old and I wasn't thinking. I would never do that today. But my mother would do it to a child. And my mother at the age of 60 would not care about switching his medications around. My mother had no problem giving me new medications and new prescriptions when she just wanted me to go to court or something. She had no problem slipping me pills so that I would be quiet, even if the doctors had no prescriptions available. So my mother absolutely was switching my prescriptions around to make me tired and quiet. Absolutely. And she was in her 60s. I was only 16. So I learned my lesson and I felt bad. I even had to talk to the person. I got caught. So one of my friends had 2 Vicodin left and I switched them out for 2 Seroquel because they looked the same. Well, not actually. They didn't look anything alike. And that's why I got caught. And, well, I didn't even really get caught. I was honest about it. So I kind of caught myself. But anyways, they asked me about it. And I told them originally that there was somebody else involved. Somebody else, I think, switched them out. But yeah, those are my medication. And I had a talk with him the year after that, telling him, you know what? I'm the one who switched them. It was my medication, and there was somebody else involved, but I'm as responsible as them. And the person understood that, and they said, oh my God, do you feel like that every night? I said, yes, every night with those. And whenever all I want is like a Valium for sleep. That's it. An Ativan or a Valium is all I need, and I'm fine. It also, they can be used for my neurological disorder too, so it's multi-purpose. And if not that, we can do a Vistarol with a clonidine at bedtime. There are so many safe medications that can be used. But nope, they want to load me up with Seroquel, Thorazine, Trazodone, Risperidone, Lamictal. It's the whole works of them together. And as I say, I'm having more and more problems sleeping. They give me more and more meds. Even though all I want is a med that will work. I tell the doctors what meds work, and then they ignore those meds and try to load me up with pharmaceuticals, and then I get sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker.